Next witness I'm calling as an adverse witness, James Hoster, please.
Mr. Hosty, have you been sworn?
Yes, sir.
Fine, thank you. If you would, please, sir. If you just come up here and have a seat.
That's Hosty.
Hosty, thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr.
Right,
Hosty, thank you. They
My
call me
fault.
Burton a lot, so we'll get along fine. Thank you.
Okay. You're a former FBI agent.
I'm a retired agent, that is correct.
Were you the FBI, working for the FBI in Dallas in 1963 when
I was.
Our president was assassinated?
I was.
Now, you received a note in November 1963 from Mr. Oswald, didn't you?
Indirectly, yes.
After the president's assassination, but before the Warren Commission met, you were told by the FBI to destroy that note, weren't you?
After Oswald was killed, and 10 days to 2 weeks before the Warren Commission was even announced, I was ordered to destroy it, yes.
And who told you to destroy that note?
I was told by the agent in charge, Gordon Shanklin. He handed it to me. He said, "Here, I don't ever want to see this again."
And as a result of that, what did you do?
I got rid of it. I destroyed it.
Now, you had some other memorandums, too, didn't you, that were destroyed?
The memorandum was explaining how I came into possession of the note.
And isn't it true, Mr. Posty, that you were told by your superior, Mr. Shanklin, to get it out of here, quote, "Get it out of here, I don't even want it in this office, get rid of it"?
That's correct.
And as a result of what he told you, did you get it out of there and get rid of the note?
That is correct.
Does the FBI generally destroy evidence?
That wasn't evidence because
Please,
with
just answer
Oswald
my
dead,
question. Does the FBI generally destroy evidence?
after the trial is over with, yes, we do.
Thank you. I want to ask you something about a particular trip that Mr. Oswald was Lee supposedly made to Mexico. There was some information that was withheld from you, isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And the information that you believe that was withheld from you had to do with the supposed trip of Lee to Mexico, where he supposedly appeared at the Cuban embassy as well as the Russian embassy. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
And isn't it also true that the information that was held from you is that Lee supposedly talked to the head of the Russian intelligence in that hemisphere, a man by the name of
Valery Vladimirovich Kostakov.
And that Mr. Kostakov was in charge for the KGB of assassinations. You found that out later, didn't you?
About 3 years later.
And you found out that information, supposing Lee's trip to Mexico, was withheld by the FBI from you. Isn't that true?
It was not furnished to me at any time, no.
That angered you, didn't it, sir?
Yes, sir, very much so.
You didn't feel that the FBI should be withholding information from its agents?
I didn't think so, no, sir.
Now, you've always been a trusted agent?
Yes, sir. I retired as one.
Mr. Hosty, you ever seen this? Subject, Lee Henry Oswald. On October 1st, 1963, a reliable and sensitive source in Mexico reported that an American male who identified himself as Lee Oswald contacted the Soviet embassy in Mexico City inquiring whether the embassy had received any new news concerning a telegram which had been sent to Washington. The American was described as approximately 35 years old, with an athletic build, about 6 feet tall, with a receding hairline. Are you aware of that cable?
No, sir, that's not the one I saw. That's the one of October the 10th, isn't it?
This is the October 10th cable. Now, you did go to visit, in the course of your duties as a loyal officer of the FBI, you did go to the residence of Mr. Oswald to talk to Mr. Oswald prior to the assassination. Isn't that true?
That's not true.
Well, you did talk to Mrs. Oswald.
Correct. November the 1st.
And after the assassination, do you know whether or not a notebook of Lee Oswald's was discovered?
Yes, sir. I personally found it among his effects.
And was your name in it?
The name of James P. Hasty, H-A-S-T-Y, was found in it.
All right. He was having trouble.
He had trouble. That's why we call it Hosty.
All right. And so, Mr. Hosty, your name, address, at least license plate number.
Their license plate number was incorrect, but it was very close. It was 1 digit off.
And your telephone number?
The office number, right.
Were all in Lee's notebook.
That's correct.
Now, when this notebook was presented by the FBI to the Warren Commission, that page was deleted, wasn't it?
Not that page, no, sir, just the one item, the one reference. It wasn't, my name didn't take up a whole page. It was part of a page.
So they took that out, didn't they?
It was left out.
Now, are you aware of a conversation with Walter Jenkins, presidential aide, and J. Edgar Hoover immediately following the assassination, in which Hoover said, quote, "The thing I am concerned about, and so is Mr. Katzenbaugh, is having something issued so we can convince the public that Oswald is the real assassin." Were you aware of that?
I have read of this, yes.
Thank you.
I believe you told me that your investigation of Oswald revealed he was far too unstable for any professional intelligence agency to have used him in any way. Is that correct?
That would be true.
All right. Now, about the tearing up of the note from Oswald, I believe you told me that when we spoke over the phone, that you were ordered to do it because your superiors were afraid that J. Edgar Hoover, you were afraid of his wrath. He was a tough little cookie.
I learned that just recently, yes, sir.
They were afraid that if Hoover found out that Oswald had threatened an FBI agent and the Secret Service was not notified of this before President Kennedy came to Dallas, Hoover would explode. Is that correct?
The letter did not threaten me. There was no threat in the letter.
Wait a while. But I'm saying that the reason you were ordered to destroy the letter is your superiors felt that if Hoover found out about it, he would be extremely upset.
If he found out about the fact that we'd had any contact with him prior to the assassination, they didn't want that even out, right?
No, wait a while now, Mr. Hoover.
There was no threat involved.
Well, Mrs. Fenner, the FBI receptionist, recalls the note as reading that Oswald would blow up the offices of the FBI and Dallas Police Department if you didn't stop bothering his wife.
She's given 3 different versions. Okay. Which one do you want?
Well, that's one of them. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So basically, you and your superiors, I think you told me this, everyone was trying to avoid being blamed for not having prevented the assassination. Isn't that correct?
That could be, yes.
Okay, let's go on. Concerning your name and address being removed from Oswald's address book, what, if anything, did you find out about that?
I found out that one of the agents from the New Orleans office had left it out. He thought he was doing me a favor.
Okay.
He had not consulted with me, and I was not aware of it.
Clearly improper on his part.
Definitely.
Okay. About this fellow Kostakov. You say he was a member of an assassination unit. Is that correct?
He was the Western Hemisphere chief of Line V as in Victor, which is the section having to do with assassination, sabotage, and kidnapping.
You told me, did you not, that you don't believe Kostakov knew who Lee Harvey Oswald was when Oswald came to the Soviet embassy?
That is my understanding.
Well, please. The evidence is that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't even there.
Okay. You say you received a cable...
The objection is he assumes the fact that this jury has to decide. The evidence before the jury is that there was an imposter there He claims that there was a conversation between these two. I don't think that's proper for him to do that.
Well, we're giving the other side, no matter how thin they make the pancakes, Judge, you know, there's always two sides, and that's his side.
Sure recall what the evidence was.
All right. In fact, Ruth Payne gave you a handwritten letter she had found of Oswald's, which he subsequently typed up and sent on November the 9th to the Russian embassy in Washington. Is that not true?
That's correct.
And in it, he refers to his being in Mexico City to get a visa. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're certainly not suggesting to this jury that Kostakov, who at one time may or may not have been a member of any assassination unit, you're not suggesting that he had anything to do with the assassination. Is that correct?
There's no evidence to that effect.
Would you tell the jury what your investigation revealed as to how this confusion came about, describing Oswald as 35 and receding hairline?
They had a wiretap intercept on October 1st in which he stated that he wanted to come over to the Russian embassy to pick up his visa. Therefore, they had every reason to believe that a person named Lee Oswald was on his way to the Soviet embassy to pick up a visa. This individual then came out of the embassy a short time later, obviously stuffing something into a wallet, and they thought that this probably was the person that they heard.
Okay, in other words, the CIA had a telephonic conversation of a man named Lee Harvey Oswald going to the Russian embassy. So they had his name, but they did not have his description.
That is what I'm told is correct, that they jumped to the wrong conclusion. They saw the person coming out after the phone conversation, put the two together incorrectly.
You told me when we spoke that you felt that the FBI had made you the fall guy in the assassination. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mr. Holstein, the charge has been made, I'm not saying it's valid, that Oswald was a dangerous enough person for you to have alerted the Secret Service about Oswald before President Kennedy came to Dallas.
The only thing that we could tell the Secret Service was a direct threat to the president. He made no direct threat to the president, therefore we could not tell them.
Thank you.
Mr. Holstein, you may step down.
Thank you,
Mr. Holstein.